This afternoon we're speaking with Graham Lancaster from EAL, Environmental Analysis Laboratory, part of Southern Cross University. Graham, tell me a little about EAL and your time with the university.
Look, EAL, Environmental Analysis Laboratory, yes, it's a bit of a tongue-full, but we're trying to make it a bit like KFC, so one day it'll just be EAL. So I started it back in '92 as a student, and I was studying analytical environmental chemistry, and Professor Dave McConkey said, hey, who wants to start a commercial lab? Problem is, there was no lab. He was asking who wants to start up a commercial lab. So I started it up, and the journey for 30 years has been fantastic. It's been challenging. Surviving a commercial research teaching laboratory in a university has a lot of challenges. No one would argue that. All the universities try it. But we got through, and we win all the challenges, and we keep growing bigger and bigger.
Well, I understand that the EAL actually secured the administration of the National Soil Baselining Program. I think it's a $55 million project. How's that going?
We actually put that application in over Christmas. Christmas just gone, and it was scary, and it was a lot of work to put the application in. Suddenly they said, oh look, on the panel of providers, we don't want anyone else, we want you. And we went, wow, that's fantastic. So we're on the panel ourselves as the only provider. So it's been a huge challenge, a lot of work and a lot of pulling it together, but I think we've really got it mastered now after this many months. And yeah, we've got a very good program that's really getting some momentum out in the community all around Australia. So we're getting samples collected from around the country with sample providers that we accredit or certify or approve. And then they collect the soils for benchmarking the soils, the carbon in the soils, plus the pH, conductivity, a few different parameters.
Yep.
And they're doing a fantastic job. We do the analysis here in Lismore, so samples come from all over the country.
Yep.
And then we submit them under the program. So it goes onto the national database for storing data for Australia.
And there's some subsidies available to the farmers to cover some of those costs, aren't there?
Yeah, it's a $10,000 subsidy for each ABN a farmer has. So there's a good subsidy there which covers all the costs of the soil testing, and then we work out cost-effective ways to do the soil sampling. So there is some contribution by the farmer, but they get a very good benchmarking of their soils, which really gives them a good understanding of the carbon down their profile. So most soil sampling farmers have ever done is only the top 10 centimetres. This is the top 10 to 20, and then 20 to 30. So they get a depth profile of their carbon, their pH conductivity, their nitrate ammonia, their coal well phosphorus, and they can add other parameters as well. So it really gives a really good benchmarking for understanding their soils.
And what about for some of the farmers who might have already done some of this soil testing and might have some of those results already in their libraries? What sort of...
Well, we're a bit lucky there. We picked up another government program, data capture program, that really means that data, anyone who has data on their soils, they can submit that data to us, and they get paid $200 per soil test. And that can be a historical data program, so it's got to be data before January this year. And there can be 20-year-old data, hopefully in an Excel form or something that we can just transfer. And then we submit that to the government, and they just get a cash handout of $200 up to $10,000 again. So 50 soil tests over 20 years isn't hard for an average farmer. And they just need to submit that to us, and we submit that. A bit of paperwork, but really we try to make it as smooth and efficient as possible. And that data, once again, goes on the database, CSIRO database, to really get data, historical data for Australia. No one needs to worry about where that data is used, because it's only used on a regional basis, so their farm isn't identified. It's really just used to classify Australian soils compared to the world. We really need to know where we stand.
And the world is doing the same thing, isn't it, everywhere? So
everyone's realising data. And I know I went to a Chinese conference a few years back, and they were trying to test soil for 10 million farms. They had 100 million small farmers, and they only wanted to do 10 million of them. So the scale over there is astronomical. We're a big country, so we don't have so many farmers. We're trying to access around 25,000 farmers in this SMIP program, subsidised monitoring incentive program for soil testing, but then there's the historical data program.
No, it's fantastic. It's an exciting time for farmers and for the Australian soil. So you've got your soil testing. Whilst the university has been sort of cramped for space, you're the one department or team that seems to be taking over. You're moving left, right, and centre too.
Yeah, they joke about it all the time. I do tend to take over things, not by deliberate, just by growth. We've got to keep growing.
Sure.
I've always had the concept, growth and survive. You must keep going bigger and better. And we've got over 60 staff now, and the potential is hundreds. I went and saw a friend's lab over in New Zealand, Hills Laboratory, and they've got over 300 staff. And they're a model that I'm trying to work with robots and automation, mechanisation, and you name it. We've got an engineering faculty here, so designing robots is a real option for us, but you still need all the staff to keep it all running. So I think the sky is absolutely the limit, and I just don't want to see it stop.
What sort of numbers of tests could you put through in, say, a month for these soils?
Well, look, we're geared up to do about 1,000 soils a week, so that's a fair few. We're often doing 500 to 1,000 plants a week. Leaf samples. We're doing hundreds of waters a week. We're very diversified. We do everything from human hair testing for contamination to see what you've been exposed to in your life, or recently, for mining in particular. And then we're doing everything, all the soils. We do a lot of carbon monitoring for the ERF, the Emission Reduction Fund. So we do a lot of that carbon all Australia-wide, and then we do all our soils. So really, there's not anything we don't do.
Now, it's not all in the laboratory though, is it? You need to get out there and...
Well, at the moment, I'm about to go on some leave. So.
Right, so before then, or somewhere in the middle of it all, you've got a couple of events happening too. So I think EAL is at the upcoming Primex in Casino. November.
Yeah, we're very excited by that. We've got our drilling rig there, which will be on display with some staff talking about this program. And the 30 centimetre core will have their demonstration, intact core, how they've got to be collected. And the Primex is really exciting for us, a nice local event here in Casino.
And I think they expect something like 30,000 plus through the gates over that weekend.
I think with all the floods in this region, people are just desperate to get in. Get into what it's all about. Just talking to other people, seeing what innovation is out there, and seeing what the community and the region can offer. So.
Yeah. And something probably even closer to your heart is your very own biological farming conference. I think that's December 2 to 4. If I've got that right.
2 to 4 the weekend. It's a weekend conference, which is quite unusual, but we're targeting it to farmers. It's run with us, Southern Cross Uni, and Soil Care. And Soil Care, Bonnie Walker's been fantastic at putting all this together. We've run one in 2015 in Lismore, 2018 in Gold Coast, Southern Cross University, and now after COVID, we've running this one here, and we're hoping to get 300 to 500 delegates. It's a low-cost conference, so we spend all the money on food and presenters from America and all over the world. So we've really got a top list of presentations over the weekend. We've got great field trips on the Friday, and on the Monday we've got workshops. So it's full on, and we're loving it. So.
And you'd have nothing less than full on, I imagine, in your diary, Graham. So we've been lucky to catch you today because you're off to Canberra tomorrow. And I believe you had a conference down there, and then Wednesday or Thursday you leave the country to...
Thursday I leave the country.
What are you up to next?
Oh, look, just having a little visit to Ventura in California.
What's going on over there?
Oh, look, it's a small sport called wave skiing. It's a bit like surfing, but you're seatbelted in. We do all the same manoeuvres, and I've got the World Wave Ski titles, and that goes for about 7 days. It's a man-on-man format. There's about 50-odd competitors there who will be driving it for the number one position, and I've got 7th seed in the world in the Open. So it's a mature sport. We've got a lot of young ones coming in around Portugal and Spain and France and all that, but in Australia it's a bit of a mature sport. So I've grown up all with it and love it, so it gets me around the world.
You certainly press the medal, don't you? It's terrific to see.
It's nice to have a hobby, because when you're balancing work and life, you've got to have plenty of life with plenty of work, and I try to balance it all the time.
Well, look, Graham, thank you very much for being with us today, and wish you best in the international titles for number one, and certainly would encourage all of our viewers to get to both the Primex in Casino November 10 to 12 and the Biological Farming Conference at the Lismore campus from December 2 to 4. There'll be plenty of links available to those sites. Thanks again, Graham.
All right, excellent, thank you.
Cheers.